It's kind of wild when you think about it. Most of us, without even realizing it, basically organize our entire lives around getting these tiny little dopamine hits. I mean, from the second you wake up and grab your phone, to that first cup of coffee, to the show you binge watch at night, we're just constantly chasing these small, immediate rewards. But what if that constant chase is the very thing that's killing our motivation for everything else?
Oh man, we've all been there, right? You've got the time, you totally have the ability, but you just cannot seem to get yourself to start that one thing you know you need to do. So what is really going on here?
If this list hits a little too close to home, trust me, you are not alone. This whole cycle of distraction and reward seeking has kind of become the default setting for modern life. It's like we're stuck in this loop of compulsive overconsumption, and it's leaving us feeling restless, anxious, and totally unable to focus on what actually matters. Okay, so here's the thing you absolutely have to get. This is not a personal failing. This is not about you lacking willpower. The real problem is this fundamental mismatch between our ancient caveman brains and the crazy high-tech world we've built all around them. So you've probably heard dopamine called the pleasure molecule, right? Well, that's not quite right. It's actually much more accurate to call it the motivation molecule. It's the chemical that tells our brain, hey, pay attention. That thing over there is important for survival. Go get it, and then do it again. It's what kept our ancestors alive for sure. And boom, that right there is the heart of the problem. Our brain's basic wiring, to run towards pleasure and away from pain, was an absolutely brilliant survival tool back when rewards were super rare. But today, in a world of just overwhelming abundance, that exact same wiring has become a liability. It's exposing our brains to a constant, nonstop fire hose of dopamine. To really get what's happening, let's use this really powerful metaphor that's grounded in actual neuroscience. Just imagine that deep inside your brain, there's a seesaw. One of the craziest findings in neuroscience is that pleasure and pain are actually processed in the very same parts of the brain, and they're always working to balance each other out. Now, rule number one of this seesaw, and this is super important, is that it always wants to be level. Neuroscientists call this state homeostasis. It's the baseline, the sweet spot where your brain functions best, and it will work incredibly hard to get back there, no matter what. So let's walk through it. You eat a delicious potato chip, and wham, your seesaw tips over to the side of pleasure. But your brain immediately goes, whoa, let's balance this out. So, these little neuroadaptation gremlins, as neuroscientist Dr. Anna Lemke calls them, they hop on the pain side. But here's the catch. They don't get off right away. They kind of hang around for a bit, tilting the seesaw past level into a state of pain. And that feeling, that's the craving. That's the urge for just one more chip. Okay, so one potato chip, no big deal. But what happens when we're relentlessly tipping that seesaw toward pleasure day after day after day? Well, with all that repetition, those little gremlins on the pain side start to multiply. They start hitting the gym, becoming what Dr. Lemke calls Arnold Schwarzenegger gremlins. And the result is that our initial hit of pleasure gets weaker and shorter, while that painful after effect gets way stronger and lasts a whole lot longer. And this is the trap. Eventually, we have so many of these huge gremlins just camped out on the pain side of the seesaw that our baseline for joy has completely shifted. We're now stuck in what's called a chronic dopamine deficit state. We're not reaching for our phone or video game to feel good anymore. We're doing it just to stop feeling bad, just to get that seesaw back to level for a few seconds. And that is the biological root of that constant anxiety, irritability, and that nagging craving that never seems to go away. This quote from Dr. Lemke just nails our modern problem. We've basically drugified everything. And when we use that word addicted, it's not just about drugs and alcohol anymore. It's about any behavior that has become compulsive and is getting in the way of our lives. Seriously, we are seeing people get addicted to the wildest range of things. The compulsive use of social media, online shopping, even just connecting with other people through our devices. Anything that gives us that quick, powerful hit of dopamine can totally hijack this whole pleasure-pain system. All right, so that's the problem, and yeah, it sounds pretty big. It's literally built into our biology and our environment. But the good news is, we can fight back. We can intentionally hit the reset button on our pleasure-pain balance. The first step is taking a break, what people often call a dopamine fast. And the key here is to do it for long enough. It turns out, on average, it takes about 3 to 4 weeks for those gremlins to finally pack up and leave the pain side of the seesaw, and for our brain's natural balance to be restored. So you've basically got two paths to get your balance back. Path number one is to just abstain. Stop pressing on the pleasure side and just wait it out. But there's a second path, a more proactive one, and honestly, a much more powerful one. Intentionally adding what we'll call healthy pain.
I know this is going to sound totally backwards, but embracing the right kind of discomfort is one of the single most effective ways to restore your brain's natural reward system and find that lasting motivation you've been looking for. Here's how it works. When you intentionally press down on the pain side of the seesaw by doing something that takes real effort, your brain's gremlins have to rush over to the pleasure side to balance things out. You're getting your dopamine indirectly. I mean, think about the runner's high. Exercise is a form of stress, right? But afterwards, you're flooded with your own homemade feel-good chemicals. You essentially paid for your dopamine up front.
And look, we're not talking about climbing Mount Everest here. This can be as simple as choosing to do the dishes instead of scrolling, or taking a quick cold shower, or even just standing in line at the store and tolerating that feeling of boredom without immediately reaching for your phone. These small acts build up our mental calluses and teach our brains that, hey, we can handle a little discomfort. So here's the deal. We can't rely on willpower in the moment. It's not going to cut it. Our brains are wired to choose the easy, pleasurable thing. So we have to plan ahead. Tonight, decide to plug your phone in somewhere you can't reach it from your bed. Go ahead and delete that one app, you know the one, that you always turn to. And most importantly, decide right now on one hard thing you're going to do first thing tomorrow morning, whether it's a 10-minute walk or finally dealing with that bill you've been putting off. In the end, the path out of this dopamine trap isn't about finding more pleasure. It's about reclaiming your brain's resilience by learning to embrace the hard things. Because it's in that effort, in that healthy struggle, that we find our real motivation, our focus, and our joy. So the only question left is, what discomfort will you choose?